You go from homeless, I'm living out of my car, I'm suicidal, to, oh, I'm a personal trainer training Hollywood movie stars. Where did the resilience come from? Because there's a lot of people that wouldn't have been able to pull it together. Where do you think that came from? Was that just something you think you were born with?
There were so many times where I wanted to give up. So in those times where I felt like I couldn't take it anymore, I just think back of, I have a responsibility to do something with my life. And I lost friends who don't have the opportunity now to do the things that I'm able to do. So I always revert back to that. And that's what ultimately keeps me going no matter what. Me talking to you here today, I still feel like I haven't even got a foothold of the greatness that is to come.
Imagine having direct access to someone who's navigated life's toughest terrains and come out stronger. Someone who's been there, done that, and can guide you with empathy, experience, and honesty. This isn't just advice. It's a lifeline, a strategy session, a chance to learn from my journey so you can accelerate yours. Without the ability to be self-aware and introspective, the ability for you to get to where you want to go, nearly impossible. Hey everybody, welcome back to the David Guttman podcast. I have a really exciting guest here today who hopefully won't murder me. Aaron Williamson, ex-Marine Corps, personal trainer to the stars, as well as just a really interesting journey from what I understand. We only got to talk a little bit, but we're going to get into it. I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of, again, we don't have to get too deep, but, kind of growing up, what your folks did and maybe kind of what path that set you on.
Yeah. Well, one, it's great to be here with you. I grew up in Daytona Beach, Florida. Basic childhood with no direction, kind of a broken family. Didn't appreciate authority, thought I knew what was best for me. Almost died of drugs in 7th grade from an overdose.
Wow.
And realized that I needed to do something with my life. And as I squandered all these different opportunities along the way going into high school, it really brought me down to a path where I felt like the only thing left was the military. So when I think of the military in my mind, I'm like, I want to be the best of the best, and I want to do the hardest. And to me, that was the Marine Corps. So that was kind of the path that I went down, because there was really nothing else. Daytona Beach, Florida is I think it seems bigger in a lot of people's minds because of spring break, but there's not a lot of opportunity there in Daytona Beach. So I knew I needed to kind of move on and go somewhere and expand my knowledge.
Now, you finished high school, but did you just barely finish high school, or was there something any subjects you really liked, or had a teacher or maybe a coach that gave any direction there, or not really?
Not really. It was I got in a lot of trouble. I ended up going to live with my real father, who I didn't know. My real father and my mother were divorced at an early age. I was a baby. So I know my stepfather as my real father, but my first freshman year, I went actually to live with my real father in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and it didn't work out well. I fell right back into the same crowd. They didn't want me there. They drove me down to Florida, to Panama City, and put me in this psychiatric rehabilitation type center. So I was on medication and trying to figure out what the hell I was doing there. My mom came back and got me before I went into foster care and brought me back to Daytona Beach and put me in a private Catholic school. So, I felt like I had a little bit of a responsibility to make the best of it, not be such a shithead. So I kind of started to do better. I got into sports more to keep myself out of trouble. I love football. So that's kind of where it went. But in terms of figures who I would look up to, who would mentor me, I didn't really have any of those people in my life.
So never really, did well with authority. And so now you're like, I'm going to go into the military.
Yeah.
Right? Where that's all you got is authority.
Yeah. Wow.
So that transition had to be hard.
Yeah. I remember landing on the Yellow Footprints, Parris Island, South Carolina. And, the drill instructors come running on the bus. You scream, and it's just a big frenzy. You get off, you're standing there at the position of attention, and someone's screaming at you, talking to you. So you're looking at them. And I found out that's the last thing you want to do. Don't look at the drill instructor in the eye. So that's when I knew I was in a different world. And I think if you go into the military with the right mindset, you can really take away some very important points, and you can actually learn a lot about yourself. And that's where I grew and developed this kind of relentless mindset of, if I say I'm going to do something, no matter what, I'm going to accomplish it. And if I don't accomplish it, something else along the way is going to kind of replace that. And like, the doors continually open as long as you just keep chasing and don't stop.
So how long were you in the service for?
I was in the service for 7.5 years.
Okay.
And then when I got out, I did some contract work.
So why did you decide, you know what, maybe long-term career in the military, not for me? What was the decision point there for you? Because if I remember from watching some of your content, you were rising pretty fast when you were in the military.
Yeah, and I really thought when I joined, it was going to be a lifelong thing. It was going to be a retirement thing. But when I first got to my first duty station, I wanted my whole mindset about the Marine Corps was I wanted to be special forces. I wanted to be reconnaissance. And that old poster, that Marine poster with the guy all cammied up with the K-bar, that was kind of the picture in my head when I joined. But my platoon commander would not let me go when I got to my duty station to take the NDOC. So it kind of put a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. And I think that with all branches of service, you're going to come across some leaders that don't exactly know how to lead the right way. And that was another tipping point that led me to getting out of the service. Although I had some special duties, my last duty was with General Pace, and he was trying like everything to talk me into staying in. But when you become very goal-oriented, you realize that when you're in the military, you're kind of stuck behind these certain rules and guidelines. You can't really excel past it unless you get out. And so that's ultimately what led me out.
So now you do some contract work for a little bit, but at some point, maybe 8-10 years out. So what did you decide you're going to do, career-wise, professionally, now that you're out of the military, and maybe you decided you're out of the contract business?
Well, I took this opportunity doing contract work to look at the technological piece of biometrics, because that's ultimately what I got into overseas, was the biometrics piece. And it's a part of the war you don't really hear about, but we were the test bed for the DoD biometrics task force. So when I looked at that opportunity, that was longevity for me. I'm like, I can learn a lot here. I'm a manager. I'm a leader. I can take this skill set and go back to the States and use it to, advance my career with some big, maybe tech company or something like that. But all that backfired when I left Iraq.
And what happened there?
I ended up moving to New Orleans. So when I left Iraq, we were turning everything over to the Iraqis. So it was becoming a much more dangerous place. As a contractor, your resources are a little bit less. So I just made a leap of faith. I moved to New Orleans to do some contract work with Marine Forces North. The funding that was in place wasn't, or the funding that was supposed to be in place wasn't guaranteed. So that's where I say the leap of faith came into play. I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. So long story short, I made the leap, went to New Orleans, and then everything didn't work out the way I thought it was. A lot of the money that was supposed to be put into this new section didn't happen like it was explained to me. And it left me in a spot where now I don't know what to do, because this job isn't what it was supposed to be. And I lost everything I had. I ended up living out of my car. I filed for bankruptcy. I was homeless. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know anyone in New Orleans, never been to New Orleans. So it was one of these things where I remember having these moments in my car where I'm like, how could I have done so many amazing things in my Marine Corps career? And now here I am in this shithole town. And I love New Orleans, but at the time, that was what was going through my mind. like, I don't have any purpose. I don't know where I am. I don't know what I'm doing. I want to kill myself. I want to go back overseas. Like, I don't know what this is. Uh, Up to this point, fitness has kind of been a crucial piece of my life, but it's been a very personal thing to me that I've loved, because it brought me down the path of creating this physique and understanding nutrition and exercise in a very different way. And that was my anchor. It kept me going through all the worst times of my life. So out of desperation, not wanting to share it, I went ahead and got certified as a personal trainer. And this is where I say, moving to New Orleans, becoming a personal trainer was destiny, because as soon as I did that, I fell right in the middle of Hollywood, training some of the biggest names in the world.
Okay, but you got to walk me through this a little, because you go from I'm homeless, I'm living out of my car, I'm suicidal, to I'm a personal trainer, training Hollywood movie stars. There's got to be more,
Yeah.
At what point, one, where did the resilience come from? Because there's a lot of people that wouldn't have been able to pull it together. So I mean, was that from the military? Where do you think that came from? Was that just something you think you were born with?
There were so many times where I wanted to give up, but coming back with all my limbs, coming back with my health, in those down moments, in those times where I felt like I couldn't take it anymore, I just think back of, I have a responsibility to do something with my life, because I'm here, I'm alive, I'm healthy, and I lost friends who don't have the opportunity now to do the things that I'm able to do. So I always revert back to that. Anytime things get really tough, anytime things get really hard, anytime, I have a weak moment in my mind that where I don't know how much more I can take. I just think back to that. And that's what ultimately keeps me going no matter what. And at the end of the day, it's about making my family proud, because I've sacrificed so much time with my family to do what I'm doing right now. And this is, again, me talking to you here today. I'm still, I believe, in the infancy of where this is all going. Like, I still feel like I haven't even got a foothold of the greatness that is to come. So, it's, without fitness, I wouldn't be here having this conversation with you. But going through all that jumbledness, like you were just talking about there, that's really what it was. It was just this big gobbledygook of, I don't know what this is. I'm gonna be a personal trainer, and I'm gonna figure out how to make it work. I found a 24-hour gym in uptown New Orleans, and what I didn't realize at the time was there were more films and TV shows being shot in Louisiana, specifically in New Orleans, than anywhere else in the world. So that gym that I found was where a lot of these celebrities would go to train. And that's where I would, build my name. Within 6 months, I was training the cast for G.I. Joe, Zac Efron, The Rock, Sylvester Stallone, you name it.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, so I think I've been to 3 biohacking conferences in the last 2 months. The Dave Asprey's, the Gary Brecka's, Brian Johnson's of the world. How much into the biohacking have you gotten? I mean, you look like you could be a professional bodybuilder, so you clearly know something about nutrition and all that. Or is it more? How into the biohacking are you, and kind of where is your thinking about? Dave Asprey's saying that conservatively he thinks people could live to be 180. I don't know about that, but
I'm an old school meathead. I love doing the hard stuff that no one wants to do. I love the ground and pound of just crushing it every day. But I realized that there's a smarter way to do things. And that's when I really started to dig into the whole biohacking piece. And I coach people, but I realized that the biohacking piece, as effective as it can be, I say this is where you have to figure out what level you ultimately want to take your health and fitness to, because it's like there's got to be something switched on in your mind to be able to accomplish these these different levels, right? I can give you the best program in the world, but unless you're ready for it, unless your mind is tuned into it, and unless you're ready to change the lifestyle habits that you have right now, it won't work. So the biohacking stuff I got really hot and heavy into for a couple years. And what I realized was it's a place where it can be confusing and overcomplicating. So for the average person, I want to bring them back to the basics. But I'm with a company right now that I work with called Transcend. And I really like the peptide space. I think it's massively effective. And I think it's something that's going to change the course of our health to be able to live into these ages that, prior to that, we could have never imagined that would be possible. So there is a lot of application to the biohacking community, or the biohacking, whatever you want to call it, but it's more along the lines of starting with the basics and building from it. Too many people try and cut around the basics because they think there's a shortcut to it. And if you don't have the foundation built and you don't understand the basics, then all the stuff you're doing here won't work.
Yeah, it always amazes me. Maybe it's just from, because my dad wouldn't let me lift till I was 13. So the day I turned 13 is when I started lifting weights, mostly because I had an older brother kicking my ass all the time that I was sick and tired of getting my ass beat. Was not for aesthetics at all. And it's funny, if you've actually had to work out really hard, like in the military, like I can only imagine what your workouts must be like. And you see other people in the gym and technically they're working out, like they are, they're moving their body and they have a weight in their hand, but like they're not coming even close to failure. And you're like, you might as well not even bother. I don't think people realize the difference between, I have my dad's 83 and, he's about as healthy for an 83-year-old as you're going to get. But I think he'd be in way better shape if he had done like that really hard resistance training, maybe done some TRT and, been able to maintain a lot of his bone density and muscle mass that I think people don't really understand what it's necessary to actually maintain that.
Well, this goes back to what you said is a perfect point about intensity. Because without intensity in the gym training, or without intensity in some type of fitness routine, what is your body going to adapt to? Like your body grows and you're able to do the things you want to do goal wise based on how much intensity you put into something, because without that stimulus, there's nothing to adapt to. So my whole concept of intensity really began, truly began when I was a body bearer. So I carried caskets in the Marine Corps, and you've got to be strong as hell because once you get out to Arlington National Cemetery, you never know how heavy a casket's going to be. So we would always train in preparation to carry the heaviest casket you can possibly imagine. And in our lower parking garage at the barracks where we trained, we had all different size, weights, you name it. We had that type of casket.
What's the heaviest casket you could have?
I really don't know. I really don't know. But there was one casket that we pulled out of the hearse, and the casualty rep came up to me beforehand and whispered in my ear and said, "Hey, this is one of the heavier caskets we've ever had." And I didn't know what that meant. It was just a regular standard funeral, just 6 Marines on it. But what the casket was made out of was the bottom was all reinforced marble.
Oh God.
And I don't know how heavy the guy was, but that casket had to have weighed 800 pounds, maybe more.
Wow.
And you figure for us, when we carry it, from the Marine Corps, our last salute is when we get to the hole. We raise the casket as a final salute. And this casket was too heavy to even raise. So and not only that, but from the hearse to the hole, you don't know how far you're going to have to march.
Say, like, how far can it be?
It can be far.
Like a quarter mile?
I wouldn't say
100 yards?
100 yards, yeah.
Okay, damn.
But I would say normally 20, 40, maybe 60 yards is about the average. So you figure
ain't nothing.
middle of the summer, hundreds of pounds and dress blues, you got to be ready for it.
And how did you end up in the casket carrying, brigade?
They came and screened me when I got back from my pump to Okinawa. I didn't think I was actually going to go to the section because I failed the strength test by a couple reps.
You failed the strength test.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because you remember at the time I graduated Marine Corps boot camp at 160 pounds.
Oh, okay.
When they came and screened me, I was about 180, 185-ish. The average body bearer is about 240. So I was massively undersized. But they ended up cutting me orders. And I went there and I trained and became a body bearer. Not only did I become a body bearer, but I became the section leader. And I say it's my most humble duty, because when you lay someone to rest, it's the last image a family's going to have of that person.
Talk a little bit about survivor's guilt. I gotta believe, like you said, you come back, you got all your limbs, and you're alive. Obviously, not everyone was so fortunate. Obviously, it still drives you, but do you feel survivor's guilt?
I don't know. I've never really put it in that term, survivor's guilt. I just always look at it as there's a reason why it happened. I don't know what it is, but I know that I can't be weak and give up. I have a platform to be able to do some good. And this goes back to this company I'm with, Transcend, and we have a foundation off of it too, where we're trying to help veterans. And part of why I say that is, when you're in the military, who knows what kind of environment you're going to be in. But no matter what the environment is, no matter how hostile it is or how boring it is, you're expected to operate at the highest level. So if you're in this chronic state of stress, if you're sleeping minimally, if you're calorically in a deficit for an extended period of time, all these things add up and affect your endocrine system, your hormones. So and not only that, depending on whatever trauma you go through, you have to take that psychologically into account too. So now when you come back from that environment, or you come back and then you get out of the service, you're left with this just suboptimal human. What do you do? Oh, go to the VA. All right, well, I'll go to the VA. How long am I going to have to play this dick around game before I actually get help? Because all they want to do is keep putting me on medication. Well, let's assess your blood work and see what deficiencies you have, and then address them the right way, so we can bring you back to homeostasis. So you can feel what normal should feel like. We have this baseline of a normal that's not normal, like this unhealthy normal. So that's what we're used to operating within the realm of. And because it doesn't feel good, we try and self-medicate with who knows what.
Right.
So back to your question of survivor's guilt, I just know that I'm here to do something, because I made it back, and I need to make sure that the people who I am close with, who I lost, and this goes for everybody out there, because they've lost someone over there. Like, let's not let their name, be for naught.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about Transcend. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Transcend.
So let's talk about what they do. And it sounds like you said they also have a foundation that helps out veterans.
Yeah, the owner of the company, Ernie Collins, he's a combat vet, and they've just created this real strong family dynamic as a company. So no matter who you are when you come into that company, you just feel like you're a part of something. The knowledge across the board with all the wellness specialists, in my opinion, is next level. But it's really about trying to help you get to the most optimal level human being you would like to be. And it doesn't mean you got to, get on testosterone or whatever it is. Like, you get your blood work done, and then you have a consultation about your blood work with the doctor and the specialist, and see what options you have. There's HRT peptide companies popping up all over the country, left and right every day. It feels like there's some new company out there. But for me, I think it really comes back to integrity, like what's going on behind the scenes. It's not just a money play with these guys. And it's why it means so much to me to be a part of it, and also too on the foundation side. So there's Transcend for-profit, and there's the Transcend Foundation nonprofit. And we want to help as many veterans as humanly possible. So this new venture I'm on with them right now is to bring awareness to some of the things I just mentioned, but also too, I want to be a walking billboard for what you're able to do, defying age. You know, like we all just like chalk it up to that's age.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really not, you know what I mean? Cause it's like, what are you eating? What's your sleep hygiene? Like for every question you ask me, I've got 10 to come back to you.
Right. So, because I was at that biohacking conference that Gary Brecka and Dave Asprey were at, I was asking them about sleep in particular. And one thing that strikes me is like, whether I have an 8 sleep or a Whoop or a Ring or whatever, like, oh, you're supposed to get 8 hours of sleep. But then, the more I dig into it, it's like, well, it can't be the same for everyone. Like age has to matter. Your genetics has to matter. Your gender has to matter. Can't be that everyone needs 8 hours. And even that the same person needs 8 hours throughout their entire life. Maybe you need more when you're growing and you need less when you're older. Like, how do you think about sleep? And when you're trying to give people guidance about the right amount of sleep, how much deep sleep, how much REM sleep, what's your thinking about that stuff?
What you said is perfect. Like I love the way you just framed that because it's true. Maybe some nights maybe I need 9 hours. Some nights maybe I need 6 hours. I think it really depends on what is your day to day. What's the first thing you do when you get up in the morning? What's your nutrition like? Are you supplementing? When was the last time you had your blood work? Unless you're wearing some type of trackable device that gives you real-time data, it's kind of hard to know the different stages of sleep and all those little things. So again, back to like different levels, like how far do you want to go with it? But I typically just tell people, but if you're within the realm of 6 to 8 hours, you're good.
Mm.
And for some reason, if you're not, then maybe that's an indicator that there's something underlying that we should figure out. If you're getting 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night and you're still having brain fog and you're crashing, you can't think straight, and your nutrition's not on point, which is going to ultimately lead you to eating more of the wrong things. I think that's an important indicator to maybe get your blood work done, because I'm assuming you probably haven't, if that's the way you're feeling,
Right. Because I used to think, even as recently as a couple of years ago, if you made me rank order, exercise, diet, and sleep, I probably would have ranked diet the most important, exercise the second most important, and sleep the third. And now I realize I had it backwards. Sleep's probably the most important, because if you got bad sleep, it's going to affect what you eat. It's definitely going to affect your workouts. And and I think if you get sleep and the exercise right, you can't obviously have a completely trash diet, but it does recover a lot of sins.
Yeah. Well, also too, the sleep nutrition piece, they go hand in hand. Because if I have a day of eating where something's off, or if I eat the wrong things too late before I go to bed, it massively affects my sleep in not a good way. Whereas if I do have everything dialed in, and I like to eat my last meal usually no later than 4 or 5. And then if I do that, my sleep is ultimately better, and the data shows every time. I mean, all the way down to HRV, respiratory rate, like all those little things. You can see the difference based on what you're consuming and when you're consuming it. But the exercise piece, if my sleep is off and my nutrition's off, you won't catch me going in the gym. Really? Or if I'm going in the gym, it might be to do some light recovery work. It's not going to be something intense.
Okay. Now, how did you come up the curve on the science behind the health and fitness stuff? It doesn't sound like that was something maybe you dove into deep when you were younger. You just got in great shape. Did you have a mentor along that journey? I mean, or obviously now it's so much easier to learn stuff than it used to be when we were younger. What's your how you been on that journey?
Actually, when Gary Brecka first came online and people started talking about him with the whole Dana White transformation, I remember being intrigued by it. So I would listen to more of his podcasts, and I would try and go down some different rabbit holes so I could understand things a little bit better. And I know, Gary's a controversial guy in this day and age, but I think it goes back to just everything's controversial. Like everyone's going to disagree with something anybody's saying. So he's got a really deep belief in what he does, and it's working for all his clients. And those clients happen to be some of the biggest names that you can think of. So I just started going down that route, and I would try stuff on myself and see how it made me feel, and then I would do blood work on it, and if it made sense, then I might try a couple things with a client. I just started kind of building on it, like a big Lego set.
Well, I listened to this, I think it was like a 3.5-hour podcast with Gary Brecka and Sean Ryan. I don't know if you heard that one. They covered a whole bunch of interesting stuff, but in particular, Sean Ryan is, right?
Yeah.
So he had his blood work done, and basically Gary Brecka went through, what was good, what was bad, what he could do to make adjustments. And what I like when I hear Gary Brecka talk about things is when he says why something is, he doesn't just say, oh, it's just, who knows, you're getting old, it's genetics, nothing you can do about it. It's like, well, here are the systems that are affected. Here are the things likely to impact those systems. Here are the things you can try. If you have this genetic, specific genetic component, you might need to do something different, and here are the things to try there. I mean, here are the tests to get run. He's very specific, as opposed to, I always hate, he seems to be, instead of trying to make it sound more complicated than it is, he takes something really complicated and makes it sound simple, which makes me feel like I'm not being bullshitted.
Yeah. Well, and I think really too, when it comes down to the nutrition piece and getting into the depths of the blood work and all that, there's so many different nutritional strategies out there that a person can use. And, I like to really try and help a person figure out, all right, well, let's break apart your lifestyle, and then let's figure out where the gaps are. And then let's try and fill the gaps with all the basic things that you're missing right now. Because too many people come to talk about all these things that are so elevated, but you haven't mastered the small pieces of, what foods should you eat? What foods does your body digest where you don't feel bloat? Like, once you can get that whole foundation laid out, then you can start to add in the other stuff. But the blood work is probably one of the most important tools that most people aren't using. And if you're not getting blood work done, I highly recommend you do it at least once a year. I like to do mine every 3 or 4 months. Mm-hmm. Because the blood work is that's the blueprint that's going to show you what's working, what's not working. What did you do from this blood panel to this blood panel that's, made the differences, maybe good or bad. This is the geeky stuff.
Yeah, no, the blood work, to me, like you said, you got to be doing it at least once a year. But the problem is, it's not even just that you have to get blood work done, right? It's like you have to get the right blood work done.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if people don't realize and that's the other thing too that just annoys me to no end is, they give you the normal range.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the problem is the average American, is a train wreck. Right. So the normal range isn't necessarily where you really want to be. Gary Brecka was saying that 40% of the population has this genetic thing where they can't process niacin, I think it was. And so if you have any kind of enriched bread, wheat, whatever, that your body literally cannot process it, and it creates all kinds of downstream problems. And it's, 4 out of 10 people have this thing. And yet, the percentage of people that know they have it, 0.0001%. Yeah. Like, my understanding is getting a basic genetic test done, but the right genetic test, so you know what things you're looking for, the things that are going to affect how you process things. And
we were talking about the blood work, making sure you get the right blood work. Most people will think that they can go to their doctor and just get the right blood work they need. What I found, if I went to my doctor, which I don't have a primary care physician, the chances of that doctor being able to prescribe you a full comprehensive panel is going to be like trying to squeeze blood out of a rock. It's the most mind-blowing thing. But also too, as much as I appreciate what Gary Brecka does and all these different biohackers and stuff, as I've evolved through all these different iterations of it, I've kind of always reverted back to the simplicity of, let's just say, like the vertical diet. My good friend Stan Efferding created the vertical diet, and to this day, it's been the most effective nutritional strategy that I've used, and every person who has used it has amazing results, but it also does show in their blood work.
I haven't heard of the vertical diet. Can you explain it?
Yeah, so it's low FODMAP foods, steak, whole eggs, Greek yogurt, oranges, maybe some spinach, some berries, salmon, all the real clean, healthy, whole, nutritious foods that your body wants and can absorb relatively easy. But I think people get so like they want to start something, then they get bored on it. And then it's like you're good for a week. The second week is good. And then all of a sudden the third week, you want to take this out and add this in. By week 6, you're like quasi vertical diet. By the third month, you're like, what are you eating again? It's like we have this, ADD with food because we're so tuned in to wanting to give into our cravings. Like the Stan I was just talking about, he did this really cool thing where like eat a meal, a clean meal, and you'll be until you're full, and then take a Dorito and eat it after you finish the meal. It'll spark your hunger again to where you can eat a whole nother meal. So it just like these food scientists being hired by these food companies to create foods to get you addicted. It's so true. But the biohacking stuff, I like it. I like to do it for myself to a certain degree, but I think for the normal everyday person, it's too complicated and it's too much.
Yeah, I think that, trying to find that 80-20, give me, let me do something 80% of the time. I want to get 80% of the, I don't need 100% of the benefit. I don't need, I think Brian Johnson goes to sleep at like 8 or 8:30 every night. Like that's just not going to happen for me. That I'm going to go to sleep at 8 o'clock every night. Yeah. I'm not sure I even want to, even if I could. And so, but going to bed at 1 a.m. is probably not the right move either. Like there's a balance there. And again, I only need 6. Like if I try to get 8 hours sleep, like I can't. Yeah. Like I wake up, after 6 hours awake, I'm rested. So what am I going to do? Pretend to sleep for 2 more hours? Doesn't make sense. But I feel like everything can get so overly complicated. So you probably have I don't know. So your client base, would you say, you have everything from pretty untrained all the way up to, pretty good athlete and everything in between? Or, and how do you deal with them differently, right? Because they got to see the world totally different, and they probably got to see what you recommend. You probably have to give it to them in a very different way that they can actually hear what you're saying.
I mean, realistically, at the end of the day, it's really wild how many people are on medication across the board. So when I'm working with someone, I like to know what medication they're on. 9 times out of 10, they're on at least one. I like to get them off of whatever they're on. And most times it's pretty easy to do just by getting them to eat clean, whole, nutritious foods when you stop eating stuff out of the wrappers and packages. But that's to more on the basic side. If I'm working with, someone who's more advanced on as an athlete or, maybe as a well-conditioned muscular actor who's been doing this for 20, 30 years, that's when the difference comes down to the little details. And that's the part where the biohacking stuff can become more effective because they've built the foundation. They know all the basics. They want to elevate. They want to like when I'm talking to someone in that realm, I'm looking at their body as art. Like what do you want to look like? What is your character supposed to look like? What is, as an athlete, like, what are you supposed to move like? How fast are you supposed to move? All those metrics right there help dictate the training. And then the nutrition always fuels the training, right? So if the nutrition is off, then you can't support the training that you're supposed to be doing to achieve that transformation that you're supposed to achieve. So it's like the whole thing feeds it. Like it's this self-feeding thing. They all go together.
So I'm curious. So if let's say you have what's the normal, if you're training an actor for a role, right? What's the normal duration? Is it 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks? Like how long do you usually have them for when you start to when they're going to, perform?
That is a question right there that's across the board, because I've had some transformations I've had to accomplish in 2 or 3 weeks.
Whoa.
And I've had some where I've had 3 months.
So let's say you got someone for 3 months. How often would you have them do their blood work during that 3 months?
During the 3 months, I'd have them do it at the beginning, and then I'd have them do it at the end.
Okay.
And then depending on the results during, if something's just not adding up, then maybe midway, test it again. But 3 months, I don't think there's any reason to do it too much, because that's a good time gap from beginning to the end. So you can kind of see when you started till the end where you are now.
Say you took a guy, 40-year-old guy, how much muscle could he add in 3 months if he was doing everything you told him to?
Well, you got 2 routes you can go here,
Yeah. So TRT, but not going like full steroids. You know what I'm saying? Like, so maybe he's on TRT, gets his testosterone to the 900,000 range, right? But he's not, he's not going above that. We're not doing human growth hormone.
Within 3 months, realistically, depending on how locked in you could be to the nutrition, the sleep, the training, 5 pounds, 7 pounds maybe.
Okay.
But I think realistically, you're looking roughly around the 5 pound mark.
Okay.
But at the same time, while you're building that new tissue, while you're getting bigger, the goal also is body recomposition, right? So let's burn that body fat off. That way, that muscle gain is more pronounced. So you actually look like maybe you put on 10 or 15, but you really put on 5 or 6.
Right. You might have a 6-pack, but you can't see it, right?
Yeah. We all have a 6-pack, and that's the other thing, abs. Right. Everyone, thinks that you can, go in the gym every day and do abs to, 100 reps, 3,000 reps, whatever it is, and then you're going to spot train and make your abs. Like, we already have abs. The nutrition is going to be what uncovers them. Abs essentially are a bracing muscle. I mean, you can still train them,
right? But
we don't need to train them in excess like so many people think they need to do. It's like, oh, I had a burger yesterday, I need to do more abs today. It doesn't work like that.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about because people always think they're going to spot reduce, right? Like, it's just like you can't spot reduce, right? There's no way to do that.
No, and that was the thing a long time ago, is people swore by it that you could spot reduce. But yeah, it's not really a thing.
So if I'm trying to lose body fat, which generally requires me, I think, you can correct me, to be in a calorie deficit, but I'm also trying to add lean muscle, which requires me to be in a calorie surplus. Like, how do I add lean tissue, get rid of body fat? Where do my calories need to be in order to be able to do that? Am I in a deficit? Am I in a surplus? Or does it depend on am I cycling? Like, how am I doing that?
There's so many different little nuances in there. So if let's just say you're someone who's untrained, that novel stimulus, that initial response, you're going to actually have you're going to have more effective, or I guess better, body recomp more quickly, because everything's so new and fresh. When you're more trained, it becomes a little bit harder, meaning you have to have more things dialed in. And this is where, increasing protein is important. Maybe some type of carb cycling. Really depends on the person and their metabolism, how their body's responding to certain foods, what their training intensity is like, how hard can I train them? You have to manage systemic fatigue. If you're training hard, like, let's just say you're training legs the way you're supposed to be training legs. When you go in, there's like this underlying fear. It's like you look forward to it, but at the same time, it's like you're scared, and you get this little pit and weird feeling in your stomach. And, that's where the magic happens right there. So you train, I say, train like you're trying to kill yourself. But I mean that in a very smart way. When I say try and kill yourself, means, hey, you got to go in there and leave it all on the floor, like empty the tank, and then come back home, and then refuel, and then recover, and then sleep.
How do you keep people from overtraining? Like my wife got rhabdo, which I didn't even, before she got it, I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
And I thought first I thought she was making it up. Like I literally touched her and like I'd have to scrape her off the ceiling. And you know, she had been working out pretty regular, but she overtrained and you know, she got rhabdo and she was in really bad shape. It took her like 2 months to recover.
So another issue that most people have is they generally think they're eating enough. And what ends up happening is you just get into a caloric deficit so deep that it's almost like you hit some type of metabolic failure. It's so hard to come out of it because you've been so calorie deficient for so long and you've been training so hard for so long. It's affected your sleep. It's affected your hormones. The rhabdo thing is a tough one. I've worked with a couple of people who have it, and you have to be very careful after having had it, so it doesn't creep its ugly head back in there.
Yeah,
and this is where I think peptides can come in and help a lot, just to kind of keep specifically like BPC, TB500. Those healing peptides will really help a lot. Just eat. You got to eat. If you're trying to get strong and you're trying to not overtrain, you have to eat enough food, and obviously that's going to be different for every single person. But there's no specific recipe for it, right? Everyone's not. You got to be 250 calories into the surplus, or some people like start them at a deficit and to see how their body responds, and then bring them up to maintenance or bring them up to a surplus and kind of balance back and forth. You got to work with a person for a little while to kind of find the sweet spot to see what is most effective for their body type.
As I've gotten older, I've done the opposite of when I was in college and after college. I overtrained. I definitely was training too much. Now I'm doing I'm trying to train the minimal amount of time I can. I'm trying to be as efficient as I can. So I do very little cardio. Maybe I'll do a couple of Tabata workouts a week, because those are 4 minutes each. Like you can always make 4 minutes. And it seems like I've been able to keep my VO2 max in a pretty good range. How do you think about cardio? Is it something you do a lot of? Is it something you do sparingly? And I know as a general rule, most people that look like you, and I actually am in violent agreement with this, is if you have a choice between cardio and lifting, lift.
Yeah, well, from a cardiovascular standpoint, I realize more now than ever at my age, because my VO2 max is a little bit lower than I want it to be. My HRV is a little bit lower than I want it to be. So I'm trying to focus on more things like breath work, a little bit of meditation whenever I can, getting in some small bouts of HIIT a few times a week, maybe 5 rounds of 20 seconds off or 20 seconds on max intensity with 40 seconds off. But when your metabolism is optimal, everything is going to respond better. When your heart is healthy, everything is going to respond better. Your body composition is going to be better. Your sleep is going to be better. Your resting heart rate is going to be better. Your blood pressure is going to be better. I can't express the importance of doing cardio enough. And I'm not saying you need to just be a cardio junkie, but I'm saying there's a point where adding in those HIIT sessions and, maybe going for some walks after you eat your food, things like that helps with digestion, nutrient partitioning, insulin sensitivity, all those things, priceless. Everyone should do them all the time, every day, every week.
Talk about walking, because I never walked on a regular basis till maybe about a year ago. And my wife and I started doing it together because when I would run, it actually didn't de-stress me because I'm looking at my split time. Am I faster than yesterday? Like I'm actually stressing myself out. And a lot of wear and tear on your body. I'm 59 now. It's like, I'm trying not to mess up my joints too much. So, what is your opinion about walking as an alternative to, because people don't usually think of cardio and walking together.
Yeah, there's a couple ways you can look at cardio. There's the benefit of what I just mentioned with nutrient partitioning, better digestion, improving insulin sensitivity, those types of things. Small bouts of walking after you eat meals, those are very good. My buddy Stan Efferding is an advocate of that, which is where I actually started learning about that premise. But then also too, let's just say when you get up in the morning, are you going to sit in front of a TV and watch the news and drink a cup of coffee with who knows what's in it? Or maybe you get up in the morning, drink some, I don't know, whatever concoction you want to drink, whether it's, I don't know, apple cider vinegar, lemon water, whatever. Electrolytes. I prefer electrolytes. Get up in the morning, drink some electrolytes, go hit the road for 30 minutes and go for a walk. And it's not something where you notice immediately any difference in your body, but it's good for potential fat loss. But I think it's good for the mental aspect of getting your day started right. And I always tell people who I work with, if you can get up in the morning and go for a walk first thing, like pull your voice memo out, because you're going to think of all these creative ideas, so many of them that you're not going to remember them. And that's why I like getting up in the morning, walking first thing, is because it's just it brings out this creative mindset that usually lays dormant. So again, walking is such an underrated tool. Again, back to the controversy, you hear people say everyone should be walking every day. And then you hear some people say walking's not exercise. It's back to the person. What's going to make you feel good? What's going to help keep you consistent? What's going to become a foundational tool that you can use every day to keep yourself, grounded mentally to take on whatever bullshit you're going through in life, because we're all going through something. It's finding the right tool to navigate through it where you can actually feel good and come out on the other side, with somewhat of a positive outlook.
You made a comment earlier in the podcast about that you're just scratching the surface of where you think you're going to be in 10, 15, 20 years. Talk about maybe kind of where you're looking to take things.
Yeah. Honestly, I really don't even know. And I don't say that to be naive about it. I just how do I rephrase this? I moved here to Arizona to work with this guy doing some business a couple years ago, and it was a massive kick to the face, because this guy is the biggest scam artist I've ever met, and it really woke me up because I've been working in Hollywood, I've been working with different people, but for some reason I've just never really dug into myself to pull out every possible thing I could and just leave it all on the table. And that's what this year is to me right here, is building that, bringing all that out, digging deep, going to places I've never been before, getting on podcasts and talking about things that I've never spoken about, and then just let those doors open, see who I come in contact with. But the messages you get, and I'm sure you get them too, doing what you do, someone's always out there listening to you. Someone's always out there pulling inspiration from you. Someone is always out there who's on their last leg, that last little bit of hope, and they're just looking for something. And that's another source of inspiration for me to continue to go. I like to just share what I've been through in my life, because when I look back on it, I've been through a lot, and I think I'm very hard on myself. So I get complacent sometimes, and I take it for granted, because I'm always looking ahead. I want the next, where is this going? I want to change the course of my family's history. I grew up poor as hell with no money, nothing. I want that to change. And I want to be, with my daughters not having the relationship that I would like to have. I want them to be proud of me, and I want them to see what all the sacrifice was for. So I know I keep harping on Transcend, but this is this relationship that we've created together is a spark to bring to light. Gary Brecka wears this superhuman, t-shirt and stuff like that. And I want to look it, I want to be it, I want to embody it, superhuman. And as I get older, when I'm 50, I want to keep getting better. I want to keep getting stronger. I want to keep being more athletic. I want to keep defying the odds. I want to keep saying, you can do it too. It's just a matter of commit if you want to take it to that level. So I don't know where it's going, but I'm excited about it because I'm having fun this year. I say more fun now than I've probably ever had.
So where can people find Transcend? Where can people find you?
I'm trying to get more across all the social platforms. I'm most active on Instagram. Same with Transcend. They're across all the platforms too, but their Instagram, Transcend Foundation. The link is in my bio. We've got a really cool thing going, and not only is it for veterans, but it's also for first responders.
Oh, that's great. Well, Aaron, I really appreciate you taking some time, and I also appreciate how open you were. I think when people can hear the difficulty, the journeys that people have had to make, one, I think it gives them gratitude that they were dealt a little bit better hand to start with, perhaps, and it gives them a little more hope that there's a path out of it. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah.